Lester Willis Young, or as pretty much everyone in the jazz world knows him, Press, he wasn't just a musician. He was, and this is not an exaggeration, the architect of a revolution in sound. Our mission today is to dig into the sources and really understand how one person with this unique vision could just completely shift how the tenor saxophone was played. He took it from this heavy, almost percussive thing to something that, well, it floated. And he became an icon in the process.
It's a huge shift. And to really get it, you have to look at the landscape before him.
Yeah.
In the 1930s, the tenor sax was it was dominated by one guy, Coleman Hawkins.
Right. Hawkins was the established order.
Totally. He was the institution. His style was what people called hot.
Yeah.
It was robust, it was dense, and musically it was very vertical.
Okay, let's unpack that. Vertical. That's a key idea for understanding just how radical Press was. What does that mean in practice?
It means he was all about the chords, the harmony. Hawkins would build these incredibly rich, dense structures. He'd, play every possible note in a chord during a phrase.
Wow, so it's very technical.
Very virtuosic, heavy on the vibrato, and it had this huge percussive weight. Think of it like a really intricate architectural blueprint, and you're seeing all the details at once.
So if Hawkins was the architect of complexity, Young comes along and just changes the game entirely. He introduces this cool, airy tone, almost no vibrato, and what we call a horizontal approach.
Exactly. If Hawkins was the blueprint, Press was the storyteller.
I like that.
His whole thing was creating these long, linear, melodic phrases. It was about the narrative, not the density. He was telling you a story with the notes.
And that's where the floating quality comes from. The lack of that heavy vibrato made it feel lighter.
So much lighter. It was modern, it was sophisticated, and it was completely new.
So he wasn't just inventing a new style. He was kind of inventing a new value system for jazz. And he had a distinctive look to match, right?
Oh, absolutely. The sound was light, almost like a whistle. And the look was pure confidence. He played with his saxophone tilted way up at like a 45-degree angle.
Leaning away from the norm, literally.
Physically, yeah. And that revolutionary style, it just needed the perfect place to really bloom. And it found it when he joined the Count Basie Orchestra.
The defining years, right, 1936 to 1940.
It was lightning in a bottle. Basie's band had what they called the All-American Rhythm Section.
Joe Jones, Walter Page, Basie himself.
Yep, and what made it all-American was this relentless focus on swing. Just this rock-solid, four-on-the-floor driving pulse.
And Press's relaxed, horizontal phrasing just floated right on top of it. It's the most beautiful contrast.
The tension is everything. Basie's unyielding beat and Young's effortless lines gliding over it. That is the Kansas City sound.
You can hear it so clearly if you listen to tracks like Lester Leaps In.
Or Taxi War Dance, both from '39. His solos, they don't fight the rhythm section. They ride it. It's like a conversation.
It's fascinating, though, how uncompromising he was even before he was a star. The famous Fletcher Henderson incident.
Oh, yeah. That's a foundational story for his whole career. So this is 1934. He gets hired to replace the irreplaceable Coleman Hawkins in Henderson's orchestra.
Talk about pressure.
Huge pressure. And the expectation was really clear.
Sound like Hawkins. Adopt that heavy, dominant tone.
Precisely. And he just wouldn't do it. The other musicians, even Henderson's wife, they complained. They said he didn't sound like Hawkins. So he was fired almost immediately.
For being himself.
For refusing to sacrifice his own voice. He was willing to lose a huge gig for it. And that defiance, it became the backbone of his whole persona.
And it paid off. Just a couple of years later, 1936, he records, "Oh, Lady Be Good." And it's still cited as maybe the greatest debut solo in jazz history.
It was a blueprint for the future. And he kept innovating. You have to mention the 1938 sessions with the Kansas City Six, small group stuff.
Which was rare for a big band star.
Very rare.
Yeah.
And what made them so groundbreaking? Two things. First, they were drumless.
No drums.
Right. Take out the drums, and suddenly the heavy percussion is gone. It forces everyone to focus on melody, on interaction, on space. It's a cool sound, decades before cool jazz was a thing.
And the second thing?
They featured the electric guitar, played by Freddie Green. That was really new. Young was searching for these sonic spaces where his lines could just breathe.
That focus on melodic conversation. It leads us right to his most famous partnership. You can't understand Press without talking about Billie Holiday.
No, you really can't. Their bond was, it was something else. It was this deep, platonic thing built on pure artistic telepathy.
They just got each other.
Completely.
Yeah.
When they performed, his horn would just weave around her voice. It wasn't an accompaniment. It was a single musical statement. They're still considered the premier vocal-instrumental duo in jazz.
And from that intimacy, we get the nicknames.
The legendary nicknames. She crowned him the president, which became Press.
And he dubbed her Lady Day. It's like they had their own private language.
They did. And that sort of thing, that uncompromising sense of self,
Yeah.
it pushed his influence way beyond the music. He became this huge countercultural figure, the godfather of cool language.
Right. He practically wrote the dictionary for Bohemian culture for the next, 20 years?
Pretty much. He's credited with popularizing so many terms. Cool, obviously, as a state of being.
But also bread for money.
Bread for money, drag for a hassle. Even a term like gray boy for a white person is a whole linguistic identity.
Yeah, it was a performance. And it showed up visually, too, the pork pie hat.
The flat-brimmed pork pie hat. It became his symbol. A uniform of defiance and cool.
So potent that it jumped from music into literature. He was the model for the beatnik jazz musician in Jack Kerouac's On the Road.
He was the archetype, the ultimate symbol of artistic freedom.
It's incredible. When the great Charles Mingus wrote a tribute to him, he didn't call it, Lester's song. He called it Goodbye Pork Pie Hat.
The symbol and the man were one and the same.
But this brings us to a really crucial and honestly a tragic turning point in his story.
Yeah, his life and his music are they're starkly bisected by one event, his time in the U.S. Army.
And this is where the narrative it shifts completely. 1944, he's 35 years old, and he gets drafted. The sources describe just horrible mistreatment.
It was awful. He was court-martialed for having marijuana and alcohol, and he ended up serving a year in military detention barracks.
And that trauma, he was this incredibly sensitive, free-spirited person. That experience, it changed him.
Fundamentally, the sources are really clear on this. It permanently darkened his mood. And you can hear it. It permanently darkened his tone.
You don't even need to be an expert to hear it. That airy, floating lightness from the Basie years, it gets replaced by something heavier, slower.
There's a weariness to it, a sadness. If you listen to the post-war recordings, the Aladdin sessions.
Like DB Blues.
Exactly. DB Blues, Disciplinary Barracks Blues, right there in the title. The phrases are still melodic, but the tone itself, it drags a bit. It sounds like the joy has been dimmed.
And yet, even with all that struggle, he battled alcoholism after the war. He was still a giant. He was resilient.
Incredibly. He was still touring with Norman Granz's jazz at the Philharmonic.
Yeah.
Playing with the absolute best.
And still making masterpieces. Press and Teddy from 56.
Or Jazz Giants 56. He was still the master even if he was carrying this immense personal weight.
So when we synthesize all of it, the radical cool style from Kansas City and the later darker work, what's his lasting foundation, how did that storytelling approach set the stage for everything that came after?
Well, his rhythmic vocabulary was. It was the direct precursor to modern jazz.
Yeah.
And really traced two major branches of influence straight from Press.
Okay, let's break them down. First one, bebop, which is fast, complex. It seems almost like a reaction against swing.
It was, but bebop's rhythmic freedom comes from Young. He's the one who showed soloists how to break free from the simple four-bar phrases of swing, how to create these long, asymmetrical lines. Charlie Parker took that rhythmic idea and then just exploded it harmonically.
So Young opened the door for them.
He built the road they ran down. And the second branch, of course, is cool jazz.
That one's more obvious.
Yeah, the cool jazz movement took his tone and his whole aesthetic. Stan Getz is maybe the most famous inheritor of that light lyrical sound. That entire school of music flows directly from Young's early work with Basie.
You can see his disciples everywhere. Stan Getz, Suit Sims, Al Cohn.
Oh, the debt is enormous. And my favorite example, his follower Paul Kinnishett. He got so good at adopting Young's style, the tone, the phrasing, that musicians just started calling him the Vice Press.
That's the ultimate sign of influence right there.
It really is.
So we've covered this incredible arc, from the light floating lines of Kansas City, through that poetic partnership with Lady Day, and into this darker, heavier post-war sound. It's clear that Lester Young created the bedrock of modern jazz simply by insisting on telling his own story.
That's the perfect way to put it. He introduced a whole new way of thinking about phrasing. He moved the saxophone from a vertical chord-based role to a horizontal lyrical one. His art was just a pure extension of his uncompromising self.
Which I think leaves an important question for you, the listener. We know his post war struggles permanently changed his sound, made it heavier, more melancholic. So, if that lighter, cool sound started his revolution, did the permanent sadness that followed his trauma actually give his later music a different kind of meaning? Maybe an even deeper, more complex one. It's fascinating how an artist's pain can become so inseparable from their legacy.